calling plays, then Baker has to go. There's no point in having a defensive coordinator if you're just going to run the defense yourself. We're 4 games in. There's a lot of time for the defense to improve, to make strides, and make progress. But real thing we have to realize it's 2020. It's spread offenses all the time. There's points galore. You look at what happened in Alabama, Ole Miss. Over 1,000 yards of offense, and the vaunted Nick Saban defense, giving up 40 plus points. So, things are going to happen. This is a powerhouse team that we went up against, and especially with Travis Etienne, who's probably the best quarterback running back duo in college football history. Baker has a ways to go. There needs to be some personnel changes, get more speed on the field, especially at linebacker, like we talked about. They need to keep loading up on good athletes, on the defensive side. We have James Williams, Leonard Taylor coming in. That's going to help. But, we can't keep recruiting, the slow linebackers and sticking them out there and getting exposed. So I think if we make the right personnel decisions and a couple scheme tweaks, we can get back to being, a pretty good defense like we've seen the last few years.
I agree. I think, if you look at since Manny Diaz has gotten here, we've really struggled to recruit linebackers. Like that is, if you just go by recruiting rankings, that is our biggest lack of talent on paper. And I think that is showing out. We really need to get some of these higher profile guys because, we're starting to land big time safeties and we've been a defensive end factory. And we're starting to get a lot more talent on the interior. It's really just corners and linebackers that we've really struggled to recruit. So, to Manny's credit, he has shown the ability to do self-evaluation and to look in the mirror and realize what needs to get better. I really hope that he assesses the recruiting at the linebacker position. Because, we're just going to keep being overmatched there. I think we got a little comfortable having Shaq and Pinckney here for 4 years. And now look, it's a mess.
Yeah, and on that note about the linebackers, especially how we've been recruiting them, with the kinds of guys that we've had success with, and, people, you say Shaq and Pinckney, they had a good run, but Shaq and Pinckney were at their best when they had a defensive line, specifically one with an interior pass rusher who could keep pressure off of them and safeties behind that both did a really strong job of alleviating those big plays. Like I know that some of the talk this week has been about how many plays of 10 plus yards we've given up. And that's entirely due to the second level of the defense. Those are the guys who are supposed to keep a 5-yard gain from becoming a 12-yard gain. That's their job. That's their role. And we don't have speed there. We don't have great instincts there. So we got to figure that out. And you guys kind of talked about before, but about getting those guys in, I feel like we have to kind of adjust the thought process about, this is the size of a linebacker. This is and go back to, we're kind of an old school thought process with our Twitter account and all, but you go back to that old school mentality. We move Gill up from safety, or even like some people were saying corner. And now he's basically playing strong side linebacker. Like that's effectively what a striker is. He's a Sam in space. So we got him up there and he's been our best second level defender. Like whenever Keontre's out there, he's probably our second best second level defender. There's no reason why both of those guys can't be on the field at once, just to kind of cause havoc. Let them run alleys. Let our defensive line, who's like really as good as Roche is at rushing the passer on occasions, really our defensive line strength is the ability to kind of hold court, like hold the line and, keep people off of the linebackers, because our linebackers have room to run. They just don't know where to go. So I'd rather have speed in that second level, get Brooks, Smith, Frierson, and let them run sideline to sideline it and, make some plays on the outside. And for as far as next year, like Billy was saying, we have James Williams and Chase Smith and those guys coming in. Like long term, those are second level defenders. Like Chase Smith and James Williams should be linebackers / strikers and have them up closer to the line of scrimmage to eliminate mistakes. Like we're seeing so prominently this year how many mistakes that we can make at the second level. They're those guys that can eliminate those mistakes, get big tackles for losses by running the alley, and turn this defense back into something we can be proud of.
Yes, hell yes. That is perfect, man. I love that. I've been so
I mean, all offseason, I was really high on Gil Frierson. And I'm very, very, I'm very pleased with what he's doing. I think, all of us can agree on that. How would you grade? I mean, obviously Jalen and Quincy are doing pretty good. I thought the sack number would be a little bit higher, but, as long as they're getting to the quarterback and creating havoc in the backfield, sometimes that's almost as good as the sack. Our interior defensive, our defensive tackles. Nesta he's been mostly pretty good this year, but how would you guys grade that unit for defensive tackles as a whole? Because I am not very pleased with John Ford, and Jordan Miller's been up and down as well. So how would you grade the defensive tackles so far?
I think they've been okay, average for what we're used to at Miami. Nesta's has been having a pretty solid year, at least up till the Clemson game. Jared Harrison Hunt, he's actually impressed. I think he's flashed quite a bit. He's still a redshirt freshman, so he has a long ways to go.
Oh yeah.
But John Ford, is who he is. He's not going to be a playmaker. He's kind of, in my mind, in that Pat Bethel type mold where, he's in the rotation. He'll make a tackle or two, but he's really not going to flash and be that, playmaker that we need up front. And then, Jordan Miller, I've actually been a little disappointed with him. He was kind of my breakout guy on defense for this year. I thought he looked really good last year in the limited snaps he got, but I really haven't seen, too much impact from him at all. But like Chris said, that interior defensive tackle, pass rush we have with Gerald Willis, RJ McIntosh, that's so critical for our Manny Diaz defense. And we just don't have that, superstar in the middle right now.
Yeah. Chris, what do you I mean, I do want to point out on Jordan Miller, because I was the same way, Billy. Everybody said that he was, going to be that breakout player on the defensive line because, he flashed some things in last year's season, and I'm just not seeing it right now. And he had that major weight transformation from his freshman year to his redshirt freshman year. But I'm still, Chris, what are your thoughts on the defensive tackles?
Yeah, it's like you said, okay is probably the way to rate it, because it's a bunch of guys that do kind of the same thing, especially Miller, Ford, and Nesta. They're all space eating. That you can't move them around too much, but you can scheme around space eaters, pretty easily on the interior if you don't have a guy to match them up next to that can actually get inside and create some havoc. Like you said about Pat Bethel, you could put Bethel next to an RJ McIntosh and you could succeed. You could have Kendrick Norton, who is more of a space eater type, against a McIntosh, and you do well. Bethel with Willis, it works. But if you have two guys in there that are just kind of taking up space, it's hard, and especially with your ends. And Roche is a good player. I don't think he's like your traditional 4-3 defensive end, great like all around pass rusher. I think he can very easily be neutralized by an offensive tackle that knows what he's doing. He has a couple great flashes here and there, but I would assume at the next level he's probably a 3-4 outside linebacker who covers some, rushes some. And then you have Jalen Phillips, who is I think has been playing awesome, phenomenal football, but he plays like football that isn't in the stat sheet. He's more of like a guy who holds the edge and like pushes it back to the middle, and even the sack he had last week was not because of him doing something crazy with the pass rush. Flag just got outside, and Phillips is just so strong and hard to contain that you can't give him an extra 2-3 seconds because he'll get to the quarterback. But so we have all these guys up front that are trying to just hold and wait for someone else to make a play, but we don't have anybody that can make a play. So that's why we get these these screen plays that kill us, because the first time they get through the line they think, oh, I want to get a sack, but it's because they let them go through, so they just go out sprinting like crazy at the quarterback. They're not thinking like, oh, this isn't really what I do, and end up failing because of it.
Yep. Okay, so we're winding down here. My last question for you guys, I'd love if you'd both answer, is give us the keys to this game against Pitt on Saturday. Like from your perspective, what do we need to do to make sure that we win? And if you touch on both sides of the ball, kind of keys to victory or a game plan or something along those lines.
For offensively, we need to get back to playing with tempo. One of the things that Clemson did and did smartly, they were aggressive. They created a lot of negative plays, which slowed us down. You look at the play clock, we're used to snapping it, in the 20s. It was getting down into the teens, which really threw off our rhythm. Even Eric King had that big scramble. Dabo called timeout to stop the momentum, and they held us to a field goal. We were trying to get up, snap the ball, get into a rhythm. They took it away. So we need to find a way to not let Pitt's defensive line cause havoc. We need to stay ahead of the chains, keep that tempo momentum going, and someone on the outside has to step up. There's going to be opportunities, whether that's Wiggins, Pope, Harley, one of the freshmen, one of those guys needs to step up and say, I can make a play when it's one-on-one. And then defensively, I think we'll get back, to seeing what we're more used to against Pitt. I don't think they're that good on offense. Kenny Pickett's an experienced guy. He's been there forever. Their offensive line is okay. There's going to be sack opportunities. Mark Whipple, former Miami offensive coordinator, is their current offensive coordinator, and he likes to take shots down the field, which means that the quarterback has to hold the ball for a little bit. So I'm looking at the defensive line, mainly the edge guys, Roche, Phillips. They need to be able to get sacks, maybe even some strip sacks, get a turnover, and get the big momentum back on our side.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Billy said makes sense. And on the offensive side, the real thing that I'm going to look for is how we utilize space, especially like early on in the game to get that momentum back, to get us on the right track. I think namely how we use like screens and play action pass, just kind of get things moving, where the defense has to kind of reconsider their quick upfield rush. Because if from the jump we start falling behind and we have to be forced into passing situations, it's going to be trouble. And then we need someone on the outside to step up, but we really need someone that can make a play in that like 10 to 15 yard range in the middle of the field too. So like if Brevin's still kind of banged up, we need Will Mallory to go out there and make some plays, because if you want to get those linebackers thinking twice, then you have someone kind of going in behind them and making some of those tough catches, kind of like we saw against Florida State early with Mallory's touchdown, where if you have a guy like that, like he is going to be an NFL player, you have to be able to take advantage of. You can't throw him 2 passes a game and be like, oh yeah, he'll make the league one day. No, let's use that talent now that he's a junior. He's pretty good. So I think he could have a big game too. And then that'll open up things on the outside once those safeties have to start second guessing where the passes are going to come from. And then on the flip side, on D, we got to get faster. We have to either simplify some things we need to do on that defense, or start attacking a little bit more from that second level, but we need to be faster. So I would hope to see Brooks and Gill out there together quite a bit, with Smith hopefully a little bit, but otherwise flag as much as humanly possible. Even Steed can run, even Steed after all the injuries, he can run a little bit too. So, give him a shot, because worst case scenario, like on defense, if you're going to make a mistake and you're going to go to the wrong spot, at least get to the wrong spot quickly enough that you can correct yourself. You can't have a guy at runs of 4.7, 4.8, chopping his feet, letting his tight end go by him and making a mistake. And I do think that Gervin Hall coming back is going to help that, because I do think that not having him for a section of the last game did hurt us, because he is probably our second best safety. He hasn't been great this year, but he's at least faster and he can get to spots and cover some people. So hopefully that helps us.
I mean, first of all, I could not agree with you more on the Will Mallory. I have been the president of the Will Mallory fan club since he came over, and the fact that he has, like 3 catches this year is ridiculous. And he definitely needs more targets, especially with Brevin being banged up. So my last question for you guys, I just need a score prediction for Saturday's game. So let's hear what you got.
I'll go Miami 34, Pitt 21.
Ooh, all right. 21. Okay. All right. What do you think, Chris?
I'm going to go Miami 31, Pitt 13.
Okay. All right. I'd be surprised, because if Pitt I'd be pissed off if Pitt scores more than 20 points, just because I heard Pickett has hurt his leg, so he can't, he's not as mobile. And this offense just, I mean, you guys already touched on it. It's not that impressive, and this could